All right, now we're live. Uh, Over the weekend, we had some conversation about on Instagram about COVID and that type of stuff. I'll run through all that stuff on X probably later today. I'm not going to do it on everything else because last time I tried to do any of that type of stuff, I got banned for a while. So we'll put it on X and we'll talk about it there. So if you guys want to see that, head over to X later today and we'll get it checked out. Today we're going to talk about. We also have this conversation a lot about the calories in, calories out, and trainers tell you that it works great. You know, it works all the time. It works for a very small subset of the population, mostly mesomorphs. So it works for about 40% of the population. The reason that weight loss gurus online don't talk about the other groups is because the guys who can eat anything they want to, like I assume everybody's met one of those people that they can eat whatever they want to, they never gain weight. Yet they're not looking for the online gurus to help them lose weight. So that whole 30–40% of the population never gets factored into the weight loss, weight category groups of people. So your ectomorphs, since they're not looking for fat loss or weight loss, no one ever talks about them because that doesn't, factor into their daily function. And then the guys who are endomorphs or heavier on the endomorphs say what the trainers just tell them is that they're cheating, that they're not running the programs right, that this works for everybody, and that they're just not working hard enough. My issue with that is that that's what creates a lot of patients that I end up seeing with body dysmorphia issues, with eating disorders, with things like that, because their inability to, or their laziness to not learn any chemistry and just do the same old thing that's been going on a failed system that's obviously broken. Like you talk to these guys, you go, oh, so you believe that carbohydrates and proteins work exactly the same way in the body? They go, no, you need to be high protein calories in, calories out. And you're like, well, you can't say two different things. You can't say that high protein is important and that calories in, calories out matter, because in the calories in, calories out model, carbohydrates and proteins are both worth 4, therefore they're identical, therefore they work exactly the same in the body in that model, and that's not how they work, so that model can't be used. But because of the mesomorph function, it can, because the mesomorphs, the whole thing behind why it's great to be meso is that they can shift back and forth between carbohydrate and fat burning really, really quickly. The ectos and the endos can't, and that's really the big thing. So what ends up happening is that they have these groups of people, they just restrict total caloric function, which was going to restrict total fat and carbohydrate restriction. And because those people switch back and forth between the two really easily, they're going to lose a decent amount of muscle and a decent amount of fat, and so they're going to hit their weight goals. Lots of times you take those mesos and you DEXA them before and you DEXA them afterwards, they've always lost, out of the percentage of fat that they've lost, or the percentage of weight they've lost, it's usually like a 90–10, 80–20 fat to muscle. So they are losing muscle as they're losing fat. And they always tell you, oh yeah, you're going to lose a bunch of muscle as well, but that's just part of it as you start to lose, fat, as you start to lose weight, because they're based on weight and they're based on a system that doesn't function the way the body does. So that's the issue. And I've written a lot of macro-based diets that are similar in caloric function, and they're similar in some of the things that the people are eating for mesos, and it's pretty easy. Meso diets are super easy, and you can add almost anything. Like glycemic indexes in the 60s and 70s, these guys can eat damn near anything they want to. You just have to play with it a little bit. The problem gets into when you get the guys who can't ever gain weight or the guys who can't ever lose weight. I've worked with people who are 700–800 calories under where they should be, 300–500 calories under where they should be, but they're eating things like instant oats and white rice and really high glycemic carbohydrates, and they can't lose any weight. I've seen people who have lost weight on those type of diets, but when you DEXA them, they're losing mostly muscle. What I see over and over again is they put these people on intermittent fasting, and then they have them do fasted cardio, and then they have them eat, like later in the day, they have them eat rice and oats and high glycemic functional carbohydrates, which keeps them in a glucose-fed state. So then when they work out in the morning, they're breaking down a lot of muscle tissue. Because what ends up happening when you're doing fasted cardio is your muscles have about 15 to 25, call it 20 minutes, of stored glycogen in them. So what ends up happening is that when you're working out for those first 20 minutes, you're burning all the sugars that are already held inside the muscles. The thing is that once you exhaust all the sugars that are in the muscles, your body will then go, oh, we need more sugar for the blood and now for the muscles. And so what ends up happening is that your body usually doesn't shift over to fat burning, especially if you're an endomorph. It doesn't shift immediately over to fat burning. What it ends up doing is it starts liquefying your muscle tissues to get the amino acids to go through gluconeogenesis to create new sugars for your blood, for your brain, and for your muscles. And so that's really what's going on. So when guys like me or Gary Brecka or those guys talk about, if you're going to do fasting cardio, the first thing you're going to do as soon as you wake up, they tell you to drink bone broth. I tell you to take collagen. We're telling you the exact same thing. We're just telling you to do it in two different forms. They say drink the bone broth, which is a collagen, and I tell you to just take the supplementation, which either works. The bone broth thing is going to probably get in about the same speed as collagen, so it doesn't really matter. If you're one of those guys who are like, oh man, I love to wake up and get a hot bowl of bone broth and just drink that thing down 20, 30 minutes before I work out, cool, do that. That's your thing. You're still getting the collagen you need because your body's going to take that collagen, break that protein down into its amino acids, absorb those amino acids, and put those through gluconeogenesis. Because your body just wants free amino acids. It will not break down your muscle tissue if it has an easier source of getting them. So this is also the problem with Ozempic. So when I talk about using Ozempic or semaglutide and using it properly, this is more or less what I'm talking about. Making sure that the body has the free functional amino acids it needs in order to create the sugars it's going to have to run the blood. So that's the real thing. So if you don't want to lose your muscle mass when you're on semaglutide, just do it right. So again, you don't have to. I recommend that you get into a fat oxidizing state or a ketotic state so your body is burning fat as its primary fuel source throughout the entire day. Then start using semaglutide and make sure you're taking your collagen. Because if you're in a fat oxidizing state and you're going to do any intermittent fasting, which is what semaglutide is, then you're going to want to take collagen to protect your musculature anyway. But that's the thing. So there's other problems with semaglutide. And people are like, oh, we're getting sick. And we have all these, my brain hurts, my joints hurt. Yeah, because you're not consuming any nutrients. Not only do you need the macros, the fats, if you're going to do this the way I do it, you're going to need a decent amount of fat, lots of protein, and some very minimal incidental carbohydrates. But you're also going to need CoQ10, omega-3 fatty acids, and you're going to need methylated B vitamins and all the supplementation that goes with it that your body has to have on a daily basis to function. If you're not going to eat those chemicals, you have to swallow them as a supplement. That's how we do health. So if you're going to use semaglutide, make sure you're working with somebody who understands the full chemical process of what the body needs metabolically so that you can get those chemicals in as well. But again, semaglutide is safe as long as you use it right. I use the term, I'm probably going to have to change this because it's, I think at the end of the day, a terrible analogy, but it's like a blowtorch. If you give it to a skilled welder, they can make beautiful, amazing things. They can build machines that do all sorts of stuff. If you give it to somebody who has no idea how to use it, they're going to hurt themselves and other people. So, and that's how I feel like, we have this amazing metabolic tool that is semaglutide, and people are using it wrong and hurting people. And what I'm worried about is that they're all just going to decide, oh, hey, you know what? We're just going to ban peptides because they've been hurting people. And that's the best thing to do, is to ban things that hurt people, not educate the doctors on how to properly use them, because that's dangerous. Because if you educate doctors on metabolic function, they're going to find out how to fix diabetes, and they're probably going to start doing it. So, I think they're going to look at their whole card and be like, we get $10 billion a year from diabetes. We can make a lot of money off semaglutide, and we can hurt a bunch of people, and then we can restrict them to prescription only, and then teach the doctors how to use them a little bit better, maybe. I don't know. I'm just worried about losing the peptides, because I use peptides for MS. I use them for ulcerative colitis. I use them for dementia. I use them for bodybuilding. I use them for a ton of stuff that's real important. And so, it would be very, very unfortunate if we end up deciding that, since a group of doctors who don't understand how the body works are using them and they're hurting people, that we're going to stop using them altogether. However, my saving grace in that is that there's a whole lot of drugs that doctors use that hurt people, like opioids and lots of other drugs, antibiotics, and we haven't restricted their use at all. So, you know, I guess as long as pharma makes their money off of it, they don't really care if it's hurting people. So, you know, maybe that there is that saving grace in there that they won't take all the peptides away. But that's kind of where that is. So the calories in, calories out, because of the restriction in total fuel, will work for a small set of people. And so when you're like, I don't understand why he says that, it worked great for me. That's fantastic that it worked for you, but it doesn't work for everybody. And so to say that calories in, calories out works for everybody, you'd have to say that if you eat 3,000 calories and you get fat, but the guy who your best friend who can eat, you know, 10,000 calories in a meal and never gets fat, that should show you a little something. And then the obvious function of, if carbohydrates and proteins don't work exactly the same in the body, and yet in your model they're set up as exactly the same thing, you know you have a problem. And I get it. A lot of these guys who are, you know, already have these made plans or bought plans so they can sell other people for food stuff. It's not going to work out. But if you really want to help everybody, not just the, you know, 30-40% of the people that your product is geared to, you know, you're going to have to change. So that's the way I've done it, because I've had to work with guys like me who did the calories in, calories out, did exactly the way they're supposed to, and never lost any weight. So, you know, if you're that guy, call me. But if you're the guy who, you know, can just cut your calories back a little bit and lose some weight, do the CICO thing and, you know, have a good time. So that's kind of where it's today. Like I said, check out that thing on X. I'll do that here in a minute. You guys have a good day, and thanks for your time.